Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. As you join us, please introduce yourself in the Zoom chat. We also invite French speakers to add the letter F next to your name in Zoom, so we can make sure you are in the French breakout room when we do go into breakout rooms, but also please select your interpretation at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We have live French interpretation going on as well. We'll begin in just another minute here. Hi, everyone. Welcome again. This is Allison Pack. I'm a program officer at Johns Hopkins Center for Communication Programs working on breakthrough action. Welcome to our webinar. I would like to invite everyone to please introduce yourselves in the chat. We will begin in just a minute here. And also please select your language interpretation options at the bottom, English or French. And we'll also put a F next to your name if you'd like to be put into the French breakout room when we get to that portion of our agenda. We'll begin in just another minute here. All right, everyone, I want to be mindful of time, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Allison Pack. I'm a program officer for Breakthrough Action. Thank you for joining our webinar this morning on Contraception Discontinuation Testing Toolkit, a new resource to adapt and localize family planning solutions. I will pass over the microphone to Utra in just a second here, but I wanted to let you all know to please keep yourself muted throughout the presentations, and also select your English or French option for interpretation at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Please also put an F next to your name if you'd like to be put into the French breakout room when we get to that portion of the agenda. All right, so I'd like to welcome Utra. She is our Senior Technical Advisor for SPC and Capacity Strengthening for Breakthrough Action.
Thank you so much, Allison. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Very excited to see a lot of you from different corners of the globe. I think people are still wandering in. It's pretty early here for us in the United States and fairly late in the Philippines. So we've really spanned the globe with this webinar. I'm particularly excited to welcome our colleagues from the Philippines, because this has been a very important study which we've actually spent a good deal of time exploring in the Philippines. I think it also shows a level of interest in this particular topic of discontinuation that so many people have signed up and are continuing to join. Let me just give a little bit of background. We started out wanting to explore the issue of family planning discontinuation, and Philippines stepped up to invite us to conduct this in the Philippines. And I think you'll hear a little bit more of the background from Lindsay when she talks. But my job today is very simple. My role on this particular project was working on as PAs in my capacity with Breakthrough Action to bring the partners together and work on this family planning discontinuation study, followed by the human-centered design process. I'm going to go through the agenda this morning and then let the program speak for itself and leave it at that. So we're going to start off with some welcome remarks from Lindsay, and I'll introduce her to you in just a minute. And then we will go through the process and methodology we followed for the human-centered design process in the Philippines. And Billy Puyat Murga from USAID ReachHealth from the Philippines will be sharing that with us. And she played a big part in the entire process in the Philippines. Following that, we will move into some interactive sessions, but it'll start off with Laura Ferrier and Allison, but Laura will introduce the prototypes to us. She has also played a very pivotal role under Breakthrough in this process. And she will be sharing the prototypes with us, and then we'll have a little chance to dive into them, a little bit of interactive session. And we have 2 breakout rooms with Francophone and Anglophone capacity, so then people can go where it suits them. And we'll come back together for a little bit of a question and answer session so you can process what you have seen in the breakout rooms and have a chance to ask some of those questions. We do have a peer assist session scheduled for sometime in mid-April. So when you go through the prototypes, if you feel there are certain ones that can be adapted or might be exciting to try out in your context, and you feel that this might be appropriate, we invite you to consider this. We'll send a follow-up email after this webinar and make sure we find out who is interested so that you could sign up and we can have a more in-depth exploration of some of these prototypes and how you might be able to use them or adapt them for your context. So with that, I will hand over to Lindsay. Lindsay Swisher is public health specialist in the Office of Population and Reproductive Health. And within this role, she serves on the management teams for Breakthrough Action and Breakthrough Research projects, as well as the BUILD project, the office's Population Health and Environment Mechanism. So welcome, Lindsay Swisher. We're happy that you're able to share some remarks on behalf of USAID.
Great. Hello, everyone. As Uttara said, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I know we've got folks joining us from all around the globe, and we're so happy you're here. As she said, my name is Lindsay Swisher, and I have been with the management team for Breakthrough Action since joining USAID in 2019. So really thrilled to be with you all today to hear more about Breakthrough Action's work on this important topic. 1 in 3 women with unmet need are past contraceptive users, based on a DHS study that was conducted across 34 different countries. However, we know that many family planning programs around the world focus on increasing unmet need from the angle of new users or contraceptive uptake. Yet a woman's family planning journey doesn't end with adopting a contraceptive method. It's really only the beginning, and there are a lot of factors that can go into a woman's reproductive contraceptive use journey, as I might call it. So contraceptive discontinuation, we know, has been documented in many countries, and it's an important indicator of unmet need. And while there is indication that improved quality of counseling at that contraceptive initiation point can improve continuation, the evidence is still somewhat mixed. So based on evidence to date, little is still known about the decision-making processes that lead to that ultimate discontinuation. And that's really one of the reasons why USAID loves this activity so much. So USAID was really interested in diving into a greater exploration of the social and behavioral aspects of this important issue, why people discontinue contraceptive at certain points in their life. So looking at this in one country, with then the intention of sharing the learnings more widely with others who may be able to adapt and or adopt the emerging prototype solutions in their own countries or within their own projects. So as Utra said, there will be an opportunity to kind of get a deeper dive into how that might happen. The USAID ReachHealth project in the Philippines was already addressing important reproductive health issues in the country. And so partnering with them seemed like a really great opportunity for breakthrough action and the USAID Office of Population and Reproductive Health. The Philippines mission was supportive of that collaboration, as was the Department of Health and the Commission on Population and Development in the Philippines, and we're very grateful for their support. So this joint effort, which was led by Breakthrough Action, has resulted in a set of testing prototypes that can be considered for adaptation across the Philippines, but also in other countries. And so we're really excited for you to hear about those prototypes this morning. And then I encourage those of you who are interested, as Uttara mentioned, to sign up for a peer learning session with the team in April for a deeper dive, especially if there's one particular prototype that sounds like it may resonate as something that could be adapted to your own context or your own country. So stay tuned for more information on that. But for now, we're excited to have Breakthrough Action share with everyone the process that they undertook to develop those prototypes, and then introduce the prototypes themselves and let that work speak for itself. So I'm thrilled to be here this morning and very happy to support the team and grateful for all of their efforts on this activity. So with that, I'll hand things over to Allison to introduce our next speaker, and we'll get going on letting you hear all about this amazing work.
Thank you, Lindsay. We'll now pass it over to Billy, our Senior Program Officer from ReachHealth from USAID.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Magandang umaga, hapon, at gabi sa inyong lahat. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So I am Billy Murga, and I'm from Johns Hopkins Center for Communication Programs, and I work on the USAID ReachHealth project in the Philippines. So I'm proud to talk about how we use the human-centered design process to understand the Filipino woman's family planning journey, particularly method discontinuation. So just so we're all on the same page, discontinuation is defined as using contraception and then stopping for whatever reason other than wanting to get pregnant. Next slide, please. So as Lindsay mentioned earlier, we started this study because we recognized that contraceptive discontinuation is an important contributor to unmet need, as much as 1 in 3 women, according to a study. But it is often overlooked. Many programs focus on bringing in new users or shifting current users to more effective methods. They don't look at maintaining those who have already adopted contraceptives. Yet, continuing to use contraceptives successfully and consistently is key for couples to attain their desired family size. Next slide, please. So there is a need to understand contraceptive use as part of a continuum of care that doesn't end once a contraceptive method is given. Countries will only reap the benefits of family planning if contraception is consistently and successfully used, and users are supported throughout this FP journey. Next slide, please. So this was an interesting yet challenging process because it happened during the global pandemic. So led by USAID Breakthrough Action in partnership with USAID ReachHealth in the Philippines and ThinkPlace in Singapore, we were working mostly online. We partnered with local researchers and government partners to do field work in person once COVID restrictions eased. And actually, one of our partners from the Philippine Commission on Population is actually here to share his insights. So next slide, please. We use the SBC flowchart as our guiding process. For those who are not familiar, there are 3 main phases: define, design, and test, and apply. This is an iterative process with opportunities to refine strategies at each stage. Next. So this is our study in numbers, and I will discuss this in more detail throughout the presentation. So we brainstormed and consulted around 40 participants to come up with an intent statement or design challenge. Can you click, please, Laura? I think it's, there we go. Okay, thank you. We also established our design team during this first phase. And then we went out to the field during the discovery research and spoke to 60 respondents. These were discontinuers, partners of users, close family members or friends, healthcare providers, community leaders, and municipal representatives. So really everyone in the social ecological model. So interestingly, we struggled to find women who were married but did not have a child. So they're apparently very rare. And so we had to work with our field staff and really understand what we need, who we needed to recruit. And this is where we realized how important recruiting is. So we gave more specific criteria to help. Next, we generated insights and how might we questions from these conversations. We gathered again as a group and came up with 50 different solutions during the ideation phase. We eventually distilled this down to 10 prototypes. Then we went to the field and tested these prototypes with about 66 respondents. Finally, narrowed it down to 6 prototypes, and these are included in the testing toolkit that we will share today. And this toolkit, again, will allow partners like you to test these developed prototypes and localize it in your own context. Next slide, please. So the first phase in our HCD process is define. Next. This is our central design challenge, developed through consultations with key stakeholders in the Philippines. So in this study, we looked at 2 perspectives. For women, we wanted to gain an awareness of the Filipinas' FP journey and identify potential barriers and areas for intervention for the woman's family and community. For healthcare providers, we sought to understand how they can build partnerships with clients instead of just giving information, and to deepen their relationship with clients for continued support. Next. So part of our discussion with stakeholders was looking at strategic shifts. What is currently happening and what do we want to happen in the future? These were helpful guideposts as we went through the different phases. Next. So we went to 3 sites in the Philippines. The Philippines is an archipelago in Southeast Asia, and it's divided into 3 main island groups: Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. We made sure to visit sites in each island group and get a mix of urban areas, rural areas, Christian and Muslim areas. And for the discovery research, only the local team was able to go around due to COVID-19 restrictions. However, for testing Sprint 1, colleagues from Think Place US and Singapore were able to join us in the field. Next slide, please. So to better understand method discontinuation, we talked to 60 individuals, and as you can see, we didn't just talk to women who stopped using contraception. As I mentioned previously, we talked to all these other people as well. Next slide, please. So from these discussions, we came up with a few insights. So an insight is defined as defined as a new way of viewing the world that prompts us to re-examine existing conventions and challenge the status quo. So next slide. Our insights can be grouped into these 3 categories. So some of you might say that you already know this. What's this new insight? A new way of viewing things. And that may be true, but I think it's important that it is looked at in light of method discontinuation, which is not usually done. So the first category refers to trusted channels of information about family planning methods. We found that the woman ultimately decides on her contraceptive use, but she is influenced by other women and her husband. Chismes or gossip is rampant and information moves faster that way. We also saw that so much fear and anxiety affects these women, and it's really around side effects, and it influences their decision to stop using a method. It negates whatever benefit they know that birth spacing or limiting will give them. Lastly, we recognize the important role healthcare workers play on a woman's family planning journey. This is why they were mentioned in our intent statement. And it originally wasn't there, but we recognized the importance of it. Next, please. So diving deeper into our insights, this is the contraceptive journey touch points that we observe. So it begins with a woman deciding to use a contraceptive. She finds out more about methods from people in her community. Then she may choose to get from the public health facility, which usually has no stock, or she goes straight to the private pharmacy or clinic. So looking at these green diamonds, you can see that the key decision point happens when they try out the method and they experience a health issue. And they link that health issue to using a contraceptive. As mentioned, users typically stop if they feel that it is disrupting their daily life or they're experiencing changes in their physical appearance. Next slide. So we also saw that there are short-term and or temporary discontinuers and long-term or lasting discontinuers. So temporary discontinuation is stopping for only a few weeks or months, and it usually happens when they're looking to upgrade to a long-acting method from a short-acting one, or maybe in their health center there's no available commodities and they're waiting until stocks are back. On the other hand, lasting discontinuation is defined as lapsing for longer than a year. A lot of these are due to side effects coupled with the stress and anxiety around it. And sometimes they don't even have to experience it themselves, but just hear about it and they're afraid that it will happen to them. So these situations need our attention too. Next slide, please. Our insights also show that there is great trust in the communal grapevine, the gossip, or the chismes, and it's particularly with older family members and peers. So their opinions are valued the most, but sometimes it reinforces some misconceptions around family planning. And it's generalized to all women. Men also play a part in decision making. Women confirm their decision to discontinue with their FP method with their male partners. Men will encourage it if they think that their wife's health is at risk. But in the end, the woman still makes that final decision. So we wanted also to see what is this relationship with healthcare providers. And we saw that they are not the first people that they turn to when they have questions about family planning. There's low trust in them. They also tend to, and if they do trust healthcare workers, it's usually those with accreditation, so doctors, nurses, midwives, instead of the community health worker who is more often in the community. So what we hope to achieve is strengthening that relationship. Next, please. So now to the next phase, testing the prototypes. Next. So we came up with a lot of solutions, but we were able to distill it down to 10 prototypes. And these are clustered according to a woman's family planning journey, from awareness about the method, to trying it out, to getting the support to continue using or switching. We use key informant interviews, intercept interviews, and observations for this testing sprint. Next. So using the social ecological model, we looked at how the prototypes influence the factors affecting behavior and how it relates to the family, community, and the social structures. Next. We also again link these prototypes back to the design challenge and to the insights. How might we help clients identify their concerns about the method before it gets too bad that they want to stop? Or so that they can openly share their feelings, their experiences with their provider and their support system? How might we build a more consistent client-provider relationship so they are the first port of call for FP matters? What channels can they use? And lastly, how might we help the healthcare worker confidently support their clients and provide quality of care without carrying their personal bias, so they are seen as credible and reliable? Next. So we tested these 10 prototypes with 66 respondents, a mix of discontinuers, current users, partners, and healthcare workers in the 3 sites in the Philippines. Next. So these are samples of a few prototypes that we tested. At the top left is a teleconsultation script that providers can use to follow up with clients. The idea is to continue touching base with them and checking in to see if they have any questions or any difficulties with the new method that they have. Next to that is an anonymous box. As you can see, it's very crude. We just designed it ourselves. This gives people an opportunity to ask their questions anonymously that the healthcare worker can answer and put it up on a bulletin board or post it on a community Facebook group. Then the lower left-hand side is the conversational cards, and it gives couples or friends an opportunity to talk about their FP journey and get that emotional support. The photo in the middle is the Busting Common Beliefs card. So we printed cards with common beliefs and the corresponding fact. We also included a place for the healthcare worker's phone number so people can ask additional questions directly. Again, building that linkage between client and provider. Lastly, the Anytime, Anywhere checker helps women understand the possible changes that they're experiencing from using a hormonal contraceptive. It allows them to verbalize and so that they'll be able to talk to their providers about it. And then providers can track their experiences. Next. So after this testing sprint, we narrowed it down to 6 prototypes, which you will have the opportunity to see more of later. I just want to share here how we made the conscious effort of linking each prototype back to the insights. Next. Thanks. And to end, I just want to share some key takeaways that the team had. Next, please. So side effects are a huge concern to start using and continuing a method. Sometimes, again, the woman doesn't even have to experience it. As long as she hears that it could potentially happen to her, she thinks of stopping. That's the power that side effects has. Yet the tendency is to downplay that experience and tell them, it's normal, it will go away. That's true, but it's also important for them to feel like they are heard. Clients need a way to verbalize what they're feeling, and providers need the skills to empathize and figure out with the client how they can be supported on their journey. Follow-up is also important, whether that's in person, over the phone, or even over chat. It should be reinforced to clients that they can reach out for any questions. It's two-way. It's also crucial to check in with those that have stopped using and see if they're willing to try another method. On the provider side, they need the skills and the bandwidth to support clients on their FP journey to prevent discontinuation. I know this is harder to do given the competing priorities of providers, but these skills, these empathetic skills, communication skills, can transfer to other health areas too. Next. And as people doing design thinking, I know it's really exciting to think about innovative solutions, but sometimes what will actually help and work are those that can be easily integrated into the current ways of working. It's something I know I have to remind myself about time and time again. And lastly, what I enjoy about this process so much is listening to clients and really working with them. It's a collaboration. Next. And to end this, I hope that this is a reminder to everyone to continue putting women at the center of the family planning journey. Next, please. And thank you, maraming salamat, especially to those people who helped us throughout this HCD process. Salamat. Alison, back to you.
Thank you so much, Billy. That was a wonderful overview of all the hard work that has gone into this testing toolkit. Actually, I'm going to pass it back to Utra for just a few minutes, and then we'll move on to Laura.
Thank you so much, Allison. So you might be wondering after Billy's fabulous presentation, what is a testing toolkit and what are we talking about when we say testing toolkit? Just to give a little context, this is an issue of concern globally as we see it's not just the Philippines, but everywhere we have this challenge of how do we keep women on their contraceptive journey? How can we continue to support them through this process? And Philippines has led the charge, and we are grateful to them for doing that. But we thought that as we start, typically the process involves 2 levels of testing. And the first thorough round of testing was conducted in the Philippines. And when we got to that point, it occurred to us that for adapting these tools more globally and even across the Philippines and other regions, because the study, as you saw, was conducted in 3 regions, it may make better sense to have them at a stage where they could be tested. The second round of testing could happen around a region where the adaptation happened. So this is why it is a testing toolkit. And we are, as you'll see when you dive a little deeper into the toolkit, it is at a stage where you could adapt it. And also it provides some step-by-step ways in which it can be tested at your local context, wherever you find it might be useful. So in case you were wondering, what on earth is a testing toolkit? That's what it is. And we invite you to come dive in now, and I'll hand over now to Laura, and she will take us through.
Thank you, Utra. That was a really important reminder to contextualize those slides. So hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Laura. I work for Breakthrough Action. I'm a senior designer, and together with Utra and Billy that you just heard, we have been following this activity and going in the Philippines to test the prototypes. So as a reminder, I'm going to introduce now the 6 prototypes that we ended up on after the first test, and that we hope you will find interesting to perhaps test in your own context. So in those slides, we first have a brief description here of the prototypes. Due to the time frame of the webinar, I will not be able to slide through each page of each prototype, but I'm happy to in breakout rooms or later during the Q&A moment to answer to specific questions. We have also the cohorts that each prototype is targeting. So here we can see the family planning healthcare providers. And on top of each prototype, we have the insights, which are those discoveries that Billy mentioned earlier, which enabled us to create those prototypes. So the first prototype is called Collaborative Family Planning Training. It's composed of a card deck and a facilitation roadmap for monthly co-training sessions within the healthcare facility. Those sessions are about family planning methods, switching, client empathy, trust, biases, and misconceptions. This card deck can be played during those monthly co-trainings, thanks to the facilitation roadmap, or they can be played during a healthcare provider's spare time. Here, what we try to answer to is the following insights. The healthcare professionals wish they had more training and medical capabilities to update their current skill sets. And we found out also during our research that health centers often lack in structure to make that happen, those trainings, regular trainings happen. Another insight that led to this prototype is that the relationship between the healthcare providers and clients is often marked by inconsistent follow-ups or lack of trust and confidence. This is why we really wanted to work on this trust and client empathy and the biases aspect. I'm going to go now to the second prototype. This prototype is called Anonymous Question and Answer Box and Board. It consists of a physical bulletin board filled with the healthcare provider's answers to questions that were previously and anonymously asked by clients. It is placed, those questions are placed in a box which is located near the board. Just to give context, this bulletin board and the box are present at the healthcare center in the waiting room or in an area where clients often are. So this system creates a safe space for clients to share about sensitive information without feeling shame. The connected insights here are that clients do not always receive reliable and accurate family planning information from their current sources. And sometimes I might add, we also found that they do not often ask a lot of questions during the consultation. Also, clients do not have a consistent relationship with their healthcare providers. They can turn towards informal networks for ad hoc advice and help when it comes to family planning challenges. Finally, the third insight that led us to this prototype is that clients do not have a consistent guide or companion along their FP journey, and that those decisions are based on situational judgments or the people that they know. So this tool here is really for discontinuers and current users, people who might go to the healthcare center. Also, something that we found out during the test is that this tool is also a very good way to inform clients of the healthcare center. Even though they have not asked the question, they can read the answers of other clients, which was really, really helpful. Then the third prototype. So this one is a community awareness tool for against discontinuation. So I'm going to start with the insights here because you will see it informs really well the prototype. So we made this prototype because we realized that the access to medical services or family planning commodities and trained professionals is not consistent across all the health areas, the health sectors. Clients do not always receive reliable and accurate family planning information from their current sources. And also here again, we find that they do not have a consistent relationship with the healthcare provider. We also, what motivated as well this prototype is that community sources are a really reliable way for women to get information. So with that in mind, we developed 3 posters that can be displayed in community spaces, pharmacies, health facilities, a town hall, anywhere, with questions focused on side effects, promoting community discussions. And those community discussions are led by the local community leader and the local healthcare worker together as a duo. And for this duo to facilitate those discussions, we have a set of flashcards that are used by the community leader and the healthcare provider to facilitate engaging group discussions and break those biases surrounding contraception. For example, we have cards which are instructions on how to facilitate. We have cards to facilitate a jargon quiz. It's not always easy to know all the words about family planning. We have cards to facilitate icebreakers, dialogues, commitments. You'll be able to see that more in depth later. Then prototype number 4. This one is called My Family Planning Journey Book. So this is a booklet that we intentionally made very visual. The idea here is to track a woman's family planning experience in a holistic way. So this booklet is given to clients by a healthcare worker or a pharmacist. When, for instance, a woman is getting a contraception method at the pharmacist, she can also receive this booklet. The pharmacists, and the healthcare professionals are invited to help the clients fill in their medical and reproductive history, and also to help the clients track their own family planning usage and experiences. So, for example, there could be a contraception usage tracker. They can fill this, the side effects through time as well, emotions, etc. And of course, we make sure to include birth and how to plan the family as well. It's not only about contraception. And another part of this booklet is that it's also a way for the healthcare provider to leave notes during consultations and follow-up instructions for the woman. So here, we also, thanks to this prototype, we also managed to make sure we reach out to women outside of a healthcare provider network by linking this booklet to contraception methods. This one is called Let's Talk About Family Planning. And those are stickers. So you have stickers which are animated and some are, how can I say, still, they do not move. The idea here is to use those stickers as a way to trigger family planning conversations on Viber, WhatsApp, Messenger, any social media platform that might be very popular in your context. They always include iconic character and a statement that encourages users to talk about contraception, but mostly side effects, and to visit a healthcare provider. So how might that work? The healthcare provider is invited to start the chain by sending the stickers with a call for clients to spread them within their social circles, reaching women outside of the healthcare provider reach. And of course, we have the hashtag underneath saying let's talk contraception. Here, the insights were that we managed to connect to those prototypes there are a lot of them. So first, the clients do not always receive reliable and accurate FP information, and we hope that those stickers could trigger those conversations with the healthcare worker. A second thing is that, again, clients do not have a consistent relationship with healthcare workers. So the idea is really for them to have ways to connect informally and more often. Again, the clients do not have a consistent guide or companion along their FP journey. And so starting and opening dialogue in an easy, informal way, again, we hope that this is going to solve this insight. And finally, the relationship between healthcare providers and clients is marked by inconsistent follow-ups, lack of trust and confidence, and especially with young clients. These stickers are also more in the language of younger clients, as they are stickers that you can easily send on social media. So this is a way for us to address this issue. Oh, this one is, oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to open live the testing toolkit. We are missing the last one. I hope you can still see my screen. Here it is. So you have a good overview of our toolkit. It's actually not a bad thing. It's a 32 pages document. The draft version link will be available at the end of this call, and you will be able to find it on the Breakthrough Action website in a couple of weeks. All right, let's find the last, here, number 6. So this last prototype is called Couples Event on Family Planning. It is an event nudging couples to engage in candid conversations about family planning and contraception, composed of a facilitation guide, activity flashcards, and a certificate that couples will get at the end of the event. This playful event educates participants on the benefits, struggles, and potential side effects on a woman's contraceptive journey. So what is really nice also with this prototype is that we can invite a wide array of women. We can invite discontinuers, current users, and women who are not in touch with the healthcare workers currently. And of course, their husbands, because as my colleague mentioned earlier, they play a big role, of course, in the family planning decisions. This event, we wanted it to be very playful, like a nice moment to share with your husband. So we have games, and of course, we go progressively into the topic of family planning and really trying to break some taboos and some biases. So the key takeaways I would like to add of those 6 prototypes, besides each prototype's goal, is that they are really complementary. We try to have a holistic approach to the challenge at hand. And it doesn't mean that those prototypes, when they are used in your own context, cannot be selected. And we invite people to adapt them, of course. But as they are really approaching the challenge in a holistic way. And we hope that we can talk further about them in the next step of this webinar. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Laura. All right. So our next activity, we're going to open up a breakout room for French speakers and then keep our English speakers and readers in plenary. In these breakout rooms, you'll have the opportunity to explore each of the prototypes a little bit more in depth, and then add in some thoughts, questions, insights, notes to our mural board. So Laura will go ahead and drop the mural board link into the chat, so you can open that up on your own screens. Again, if you prefer to, we will have French translation in the plenary room, but the primary activity of this breakout room is individual reading. There is a French portion of the mural board, so we will be displaying that on the screen in the French room if you prefer to read off of your screen, or you can also access it from your own computer. So I will go ahead and open up those rooms now. Again, if you'd like to be in the French room, please add an F next to your name or message me in the chat. All right. So we will have a total of 30 minutes in this breakout room to explore the prototypes a little bit more. When you are in the mural board, you'll see this section 4 here. We are focusing on the first 15 minutes, these top 3 prototypes, prototype number 1, 2, and 6. And the reason that we're focusing on these first is that these 3 prototypes are primarily happening within the health facility. So I'm going to be quiet now, and I will zoom in closely on prototype 1 to begin, or feel free to go through them at your own pace. But you'll have about 5 minutes per prototype. Please add in any thoughts, questions on these sticky notes by double-clicking and typing in, or feel free to also drop these thoughts, insights, questions into the chat, and our team will go ahead and translate those onto the mural board as well. And again, if you'd like to be in the French room, please just send me a chat and I will go ahead and send you there.
And if you're having trouble getting into mural board, please just let us know. You should be able to click the link that Allison just shared and enter the mural board yourself.
I'm in the mural board, but it says view only, I think. So it doesn't seem to let me write on the post-its. Just to flag, I don't know if that's
Okay, I will let Laura know and see if she can unlock those for us.
okay. Yeah, thanks.
while we're working on unlocking those sticky notes for you all, please feel free to write any ideas, thoughts, questions into the chat. All right, we're about 5 minutes into this first section. So if you haven't already, please start to move on to another one of the prototypes. And since we have a smaller group here this morning, this afternoon, this evening, feel free to unmute yourselves and verbalize any thoughts, questions while we have these sticky notes still locked in the mural board. Or if you'd like to drop into the chat, we can also note down any questions to answer during our Q&A session, which will be next. Thank you, Sita, for your comment in the chat. We will take that note down.
I'm also writing them down, Allison. Yeah.
Thank you for your comments and questions in the chat. Keep them coming. I also have provided us with some light music, so it's not so quiet as we go through these prototypes.
My neighbors who are also Catholic.
All right, if you haven't already, please go ahead and move on to the third prototype in the top row here, number 6. And keep those questions, comments, thoughts coming in the chat. We are taking them down and we'll answer during our Q&A session coming up next. All right, everyone, we're going to wrap up reviewing of these first three prototypes on the top here. So if you're following along on the mural board, we will be moving down to the bottom row in section 4 to prototypes 3, 4, and 5. These prototypes are primarily done out of the health facility at people's homes in the community. So again, take about 5 minutes per prototype. If you have any issues accessing the mural board, I will be zooming in on each prototype for about 5 minutes. So you can follow along on my screen or follow me. If you click the bottom of the screen, you'll see my name, Allison Pack, or the visiting symbols. You can follow my cursor as I go across the screen. Feel free to add in any thoughts, questions, notes into the Zoom chat, and we will take note of them for our Q&A session, which will be coming up next. All right, if you haven't already, Let's make our way to prototype number 4. Again, feel free to drop any notes, thoughts, questions in the chat. We'll do Q&A next. All right, let's go ahead and make our way to the final prototype to explore, number 5. Again, you can follow me on the screen or take notes and drop those into the chat. We'll be doing a Q&A next. All right, everyone, we're going to begin to wrap up this exploratory portion of the webinar today. I'm going to bring back our Francophone colleagues to the main room. Feel free to continue exploring on the mural board as we go into the Q&A session. All right, welcome back everyone to the main room. Let's see if we have Laura, once you're back, if you could please share your screen. We have about 30 seconds until they're back. All right, welcome back, everyone. We will dive into the Q&A portion of our agenda this morning, this afternoon, this evening. Laura, if you don't mind, could you share your screen? So at this time, I'd like to invite all participants to drop in any further thoughts, questions. I know we have a few hanging out in the chat right now that we can start with. Anything for our design team to answer. It can be in regards to any of the prototypes, the process, future plans. let's see, let's go ahead and start with Jack's question here. Has oral storytelling been considered as a medium by which one story of FP could be used to share in a group setting? If any of our design team would like to jump in and answer that question, feel free to unmute yourselves.
I'm sorry, Alison. Oh, Utra, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that maybe during when the prototypes were generated, did oral storytelling come up as one of the ideas? Because these prototypes are all generated from ideas that came up during the design sessions from the participants. I guess I'm looking at Billy and Laura because it didn't emerge in the final prototypes, but I'm curious if it did come up as one of them. Yeah, initially, the idea.
Yeah, we I don't recall it coming out. Seems that people are very particular of who they want to talk to and who they want to share that type of information with. So that's why we try to keep it to those the key people that they have trust in, which are their partners, their close family, and their relatives, and their healthcare workers. So that was not what we were looking at, although it could be part of like the conversation stickers and the conversation series. Maybe eventually, once people find the confidence and realize that it is normal, then they're more likely to share it outside of their own group. And that would be really great to see and test.
Thanks, Billy. I did note in the chat, Alison, there was also a question about beyond myths and misconceptions, do the providers have the skills and the tools to counsel? I know, Billy, you tried to answer that a little in the chat. And I think that's also why some of these tools focus on provider capacity as well. So giving them the tools to be able to better counsel and get at that, and creating that relationship between providers and clients is a very important piece of a couple of these tools, because without that rapport, getting at the bottom of what some of those issues beyond just the side effects are will be difficult. Billy, I don't know if you wanted to add something to that.
Yes, so it's gonna be when you look at that provider training, those cards, it's a mix of the technical skill around family planning, which you should be able to understand and be able to talk about with your clients, but it's also about the communication skills and the empathy. And because so what we actually realized, and actually I'll say it for myself, is that it's very hard to call it myths and misconceptions. We're trying to remove that vocabulary because those stories come from a truth, an experience, a lived experience that is passed on, and maybe it gets exaggerated, but it comes from something, and it's part of the skill of a health provider to recognize that and to empathize and know how to manage and how to take that fear and actually spin it into something else that is more productive. So yeah, I think that's what we want to see for providers in the future, to have that both those sets of skills.
Mm-hmm.
There's another question in the chat or comment from Melanie. Some women prefer to use contraception discreetly and might not want to have a written record. This is in regards to prototype number 4, my family planning journey book. Was there any feedback on having this kind of written evidence of contraception from your prototype testing?
So I don't know if, oh, sorry, Billy, go ahead.
Go ahead, Laura.
Thank you. So I don't know if this was made clear when I introduced the prototype, but the booklet is owned by women, and it is their decision to bring it to their consults with the healthcare providers. So the records are not copied, or they can be by the healthcare provider, but just as a patient, because they already own records, most of the healthcare providers. The idea is also to be able to navigate between healthcare providers with this information, but to keep it at home and bring it along with you when you are going to an appointment. And one more thing, it's really according to how women feel, how they want to use it. If they do not want to use it, then that's also fine. Billy, do you want to add something, perhaps?
Yeah, actually, that's it's very interesting, and it really is akin more to a journal. So it really has that discretion, and it's not just a record of what contraceptives you have, but it's also about keeping track of your own experiences, what you're feeling. Could be even like a menstrual tracker as well, of like how you feel different per month, and it's linked to that.
Any other questions from the group? Feel free to unmute yourselves or ask your question or drop your comments into the chat. We have time for just one more question. Well, I have a question. Utra, could you expand a little bit more about what these peer assist sessions look like?
Thank you. I was hoping you'd ask that, Allison. Sometime in the middle of April, we're hoping to schedule a peer assist session, which would have both English and French capability. So we would invite any of you who's interested in taking a deeper dive into any of these prototypes to join us for that session. So you'll have members like Billy and Laura who participated deeply in the process, able to share some of their experience and be able to answer specific questions about the toolkits, contextualized to how you might want to adapt them in your context. So that'll also give you some time between now and the scheduled time. We haven't set a date yet. We're looking for Laura and Billy's availability. And once we have that, we'll share that with you when we know you're interested. So in the session, we'll be able to dive into the prototypes the way you'd like to see. And we invite you to explore the prototypes ahead of time and come with very specific questions. Perhaps send them to us ahead of time so we can be better prepared to answer them. So we'll have a format for you as we get towards that time. But just to know that in the next week, we'll be sending out an email inviting you to sign up and giving you the format in which you could submit your questions and which prototype or prototypes you're interested in considering in your context, which context that is, which country, and what are some of your key challenges. And it'll help us tailor that session better for your needs. I hope that answers the question. I don't know if anyone had a specific question related to the peer assist, but happy to answer.
Thank you, Utra. I believe now we can move on to part 6 of this webinar, our closing remarks. So I will pass over the microphone to our partner, Jeff Fuentes, from the Philippine Commission on Population and Development.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Allison. Buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Happy Women's Month to everyone. I am Jeff Isudat Fuentes, the Regional Director of the Commission on Population and Development of Zamboanga Peninsula, or the POPCOM Region 9 in the Philippines, and a family planning advocate. The Commission on Population and Development is the central policymaking, planning, coordinating, and monitoring body of the Philippine Population and Development Program, or the PPDP. The Commission has 17 regional offices in the country. The PPDP has 3 major sub-programs, namely the Responsible Parenthood and Family Planning, or the RPFP, the Adolescent Health and Development, or the AHD, and the Population and Development, or the POPDEV integration. POPCOM Region 9 is fortunate and grateful that we were part of the Family Planning Method Discontinuation Study, wherein 2 of our regional staff, Roger and Prince, were actively involved throughout the study. The region is delighted with this because we are co-creators of these presented prototypes, and because the study has also provided our staff with additional technologies that I firmly believe will be useful in our field of work, from data gathering, field works, focus group discussions, and to the assessment. Of the 6 prototypes developed, the Community Awareness Toolkit excites and inspires me to test and perhaps further enhance this prototype. What I like about this prototype is the opportunity to integrate equally tested strategies previously developed, piloted, and sustained in areas in the region supported by USAID. This particular prototype will address the varied context of the region, more contextual interventions that consider language, settings, and situational examples, to mention a few. These are critical in family planning, as shown in the findings of this study. It also targets more than just the users. This place-based and inclusive approach is promising in addressing the specific characteristics and needs of the target beneficiaries. I look forward to seeing the result of these prototypes as we test it and see how this can be replicated in other communities. On behalf of the Commission on Population and Development, I would like to congratulate the team for their dedication and effort, to USAID, Breakthrough Actions, and ReachHealth for providing the needed support for this study, and to the women and men, the users, the discontinuers, the health providers, that without their inputs, this study will not be successful. Let us continue advocating family planning, and muchísimas gracias con todos. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, POPCOM, for your continuous support throughout this activity. Just a few last remarks. We will have the Breakthrough Action, this final testing toolkit will be available on the Breakthrough Action website by mid-April. You can see a draft of the toolkit if you click on the mural board, and we'll also include a link to it in the follow-up email with an opportunity to fill out a form to join in that peer assist session, as Utra mentioned. I have a very quick poll for you all to fill out before you head out today. Otherwise, thank you so much for your participation in this webinar, and we look forward to further working with you all, and thank you for your time.